Welcome to Bald Guy DIY. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install a fully featured car stereo that you can buy online for less than $60 or for our American friends, about $45. A while back, we helped our daughter buy her very first car, an old beater, a 2000 Volkswagen Jetta that she could learn and love and not worry about too much if she bumped into a couple things with it. When we went to look at the car though, we found out that the previous owner had removed the stereo because it was one that had been given to them as a gift and they sold the vehicle without a stereo. That left a gaping hole in the dash, which for a teenager in today's age with access to limitless songs on an iPhone, that was a big deal. I did try a couple different options and started with a basic little device I found online that would play to the speakers and give her a Bluetooth connection, but it didn't look very good and it didn't work that well either. I looked around in my local area and found that to install a basic stereo that had the Bluetooth built in with all the connections and someone to do it professionally was going to cost about $400 to $450. And so I thought I would look online to see if there was a DIY option that could come in at a lot less. I ended up looking on Amazon and found out that I could find the same size stereo with a full touch screen and would connect with Bluetooth to the phone and even display maps and all those kinds of things for only $59.99 Canadian, or for Americans about $45. That seemed like a much better option than the $200 or $250 it was for the parts. And of course, if I installed it myself, I'd save the rest of that. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I installed that stereo receiver, also how I 3D printed a bezel for it, and at the end of the video, I'll give you a quick walkthrough of the features so you can see exactly what it can do. If you want to purchase the same model or something similar, I'll have all of the information in the description below. So without further ado, let's get started. Amazon Prime delivered the package within 2 days, of course in their smiling box, and inside was this box, carefully wrapped and with all of the components inside. The main receiver with the touchscreen, remote, cables needed to connect to the existing wiring. Also a package that included the backup camera, but for my daughter, she's not really going to need it. It's a small car, be more of a novelty to add it. The wiring in particular is one that connects to all of the power for the car, the sensors, and the other one is simply to connect to the 4 different speakers, front, left and right, and rear, left and right. I started with this gaping hole, which looks a little daunting with a lot of different wires, but as you can see here, a lot of the wires are twisted into pairs, and those twisted pairs are actually each one supplying a different speaker, so it makes it a little more obvious. I looked online and found this description, which was supposed to be the wiring diagram, but after examining it and looking what I had, I found it was totally different than what I actually had. So here's a listing of what I actually had in the Jetta for the different wiring combinations. I tested them out one at a time to find out which speaker they belong to once I had the power energized for the stereo. It's a simple way. It doesn't really matter which pair you start with, at least you can find out which one belongs to which speaker and then identify it from there. The big things that were important was that the ground for the whole thing was brown, the constant power was red, and the switched power that turns on with the key was yellow. On the receiver itself, there were a lot of matching colors, and you can see them laid out in the table below. Next, it was just a matter of finding those various wires, matching them up to the corresponding ones for the stereo receiver, and crimping them with butt splices. Butt splice connectors were for 18 to 22 gauge wire. The red ones, you simply slide it over the end, crimp it with a crimping tool, and you want to make sure that you crimp it nice and tight because these are fine wires, a lot of them. When the first crimp is made, you're simply going to add the second wire that you want to join to it and crimp that side as well. And then go through all of these wires, crimping on the connectors as needed. As I mentioned, I did them one at a time without crimping to make sure I knew which one was which, and then moved on from there. In the end, I had all the speaker wires connected, as you can see here, all crimped to the existing wiring and matching up all of these different twisted pairs. And then I also used 3 wires only from the power connector. That is the black ground, the yellow constant power, and the red for the switched power. The red and yellow were opposite on the actual Volkswagen wiring, so the yellow here went to the red on the Volkswagen and vice versa. To connect the antenna for the radio, you need this kind of connector, which was already on mine because of the previous stereo installation, but you might need to get a little wiring pigtail in order to wire in from your existing factory antenna connection. With all those connections made, I was able to turn it on, energize the speakers, and to be able to actually get the radio station to play the way I wanted it to. But it wasn't ready to actually mount inside the dash yet because there was no bracket. The next logical step was to open up SolidWorks and design a bezel and bracket for that stereo to fit inside, so that it's just not going to be loose inside that gaping hole in the dash, but instead it's going to fit perfectly, nice and tight, and not going to move around a lot. There's a lot of steps to this, but basically it just starts with making the right size openings and then creating enough of an edge so that there's something to contact both the stereo receiver itself and also the space for it, and to make those a nice snug fit. I added some tabs here, which didn't work perfectly well for me, but the idea behind the tabs is that they would line up with the screw holes on either side of the receiver, and you'd be able to attach them so that the whole mounting plate or bezel would attach firmly to the stereo, and then you'd be able to from there slide it in, use some kind of adhesive to secure it inside the dash. Turned out the fit that I created was quite tight, didn't need the screws, and it didn't line up exactly where I wanted it to be, but they were fine and they didn't interfere with the design. I loaded it into Simplify 3D to slice it up and make it ready for printing. And then of course, I loaded it into my Octoprint software and printed it out. This is the before look before I added the bezel. You can see it looks kind of rough. And then here's the nice clean fit after I added the bezel and put it all in place. You can see that edge to edge in the space is now completely filled, and it fits nice and snug without needing any other securement because it's super tight already. You can see here toggling through the modes. It is a pretty cool unit. It comes with stereo, auxiliary for video or for the rear view camera. It has Bluetooth, it has an SD card, it has USB so you can both charge your phone and play from it directly. So many different features all built in here. It's hard to believe. It was really only $60. You can make calls through it. It has a built-in microphone so you can do it all hands-free as well. One of the cool features is that it'll mirror the screen from your phone if you plug it in with the USB. This is supposed to work better with Android phones than iPhone, but even plugged in with the iPhone, it does work great. You can see here that you could load a map on your phone and then you could follow it on the screen so you don't have to be staring at your phone the whole time or juggling it as you're driving. If you hold the phone upright, you see the portrait orientation, and if you hold it landscape, then the screen of the stereo also goes landscape. First was with Google Maps, this is here with Apple Maps, and you can see either way, they both work very well with the phone, and despite the jostling of the phone as we drove along to test it, it really does do a nice job and giving you the display and also the audio with it playing through your car speakers. Here's one more look at it mounted in the dash on the menu. So there you can see all the steps that it took in order to get the stereo installed, how I dressed it up a little bit with the 3D printed bezel, and how using 3D printing you can kind of create these custom designs that will work with almost any product. I was really happy with how the project turned out overall. My daughter loved it, and it's been a great system so far in the couple of weeks that she's had to play with it. As you can see from the features, it's pretty loaded, and for 60 bucks, you really can't go wrong. Even if it doesn't last that long, or if it gets stolen, like a few of my stereos have, it's really not that big of a hit to replace it with another one. If you like these kind of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Give the video a like, or let me know in the comments what you liked and what you didn't. Ask any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If you want to send me an email or follow me on Twitter, my information's in the description below. And check back every week as I post a new video every Saturday morning. Until next time, in all your DIY projects, hopefully some that bring sweet music to your ears, don't be afraid to be bolder.